We want to get back to KCRA3's Brian Hickey, who grew up in the high country, is a very experienced backcountry skier, and is very prepared, knows what to do in the instance of an avalanche. Brian, share a little bit more about the dangers and what crews were going through as they went into this recovery mission last night.
Lisa, the conditions yesterday, as you guys have all reported, throughout the day and into the night, blowing snow sideways, some of the most intense snowfall just in what was coming down, plus the wind. With that, made conditions treacherous just on the road, just driving from Palisades, Tahoe here to Alpine Meadows, where I'm located. That was in a vehicle. Now you've got searchers out in a known hazard area going out to try to rescue and recover in an area where there had already been a slide. And with that, you have to presume that there's still more danger out there on adjacent slopes that could come back down, could take out the search team going out there. And that has happened in the past. So in this situation, you really got to tip your hat to those searchers that went out in those conditions last night. It was hard to see past your own ski tips. They know those areas, as was pointed out during the press conference. The Frog Lake huts are little cabins that have been built out there. You can reserve them and go stay in them on your own or with a guide. In this case, this was a guided trip. So with the Frog Lake huts, the Peter Grubb hut, which is on the backside of Castle Peak, and just given the proximity to Interstate 80 and the access to those are areas that are used a lot by backcountry recreationists, whether it be on snowshoes, skis, or split board, snowboards. And so those are also areas where those rescuers train, because they know there's a high number of people out there and a higher probability that something could go sideways for some of the folks out there. So in this situation, they are familiar with that terrain, and they were willing to go out there and put their own lives at risk to, first off, rescue those 6 that were accounted for. And while they were there, they were able to locate 8 of the 9 now believed decedents. 8 have been located. There's still a 9th that's missing. But as you heard the sheriff tragically say, that this has shifted from a search rescue mission to now a recovery mission. And what that means is they're going to slow everything down. They're not going to take those risks like they did last night. And so they're going to slow everything down and go in there and make the recovery when they can do it, when it's the right time for now, those folks that will go in and do that work.
Yeah, and just to think that one of those recovery volunteers was searching for a spouse, that's just, it takes it to a whole different level. Brian, I have so many questions for you, but first let's start with, you've mentioned you've wanted to go to these huts for a long time, and it seems to be really hard to get a reservation. Is this why they didn't cancel this trip on Sunday? Because we all knew what the weather conditions would be like. We knew it would be extremely windy. The weather wasn't a surprise. I guess a lot of us are just wondering, why wouldn't you just cancel?
We had that same conversation over dinner last night. Why would you go out in these conditions? And I can't guess what that crew would think, but if I had that reservation, I would definitely have a strong pull to go out there and fulfill that reservation and try to make a decision when the right time is to come out. So I don't want to second guess their decision making. As an armchair quarterback, it's easy in 2020 hindsight vision, but I know the desire is there. I would love to be out there right now. My buddy and I thought it'd be great to go out and make some turns this morning, but we just pulled back and said, no, the snow isn't going anywhere. Let's let it stabilize. So again, I don't want to be that guy second guessing their decision-making process, but yes, it is a difficult reservation to get. Yes, it is a popular area to recreate. Yes, you can make decisions that will put you out of harm's way. Where this avalanche and recovery was reported, it appears they were at the base of Perry's Point, which is a peak right adjacent to the Frog Lake huts. So presumably they're in a low-lying area, thinking they're out of danger. They're not on the slope where the hazard exists. And at this point, perhaps this was a natural release from above and came down and took out this group as they were traversing what they thought was going to be the safest possible route out of there. Why they chose to leave when they did, we know this was a 3-day trip. It was the end of their trip. Would they have stayed an additional night? Look at the forecast. There's another big round of weather coming on Thursday. So maybe they thought that was their window to get out of there, even though they were taking some risks. But again, those are all things that we can sit around and talk about all day long. Those are things that the investigation will dig into on the decision-making process. But at this point, let's just focus on those families. While it is personal for one of the rescuers, it's personal for all of us to go out into the backcountry. It's a sobering reminder of the risks that we take, but when the time is right, the rewards are pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I know. And I just wonder, because, you know, all of us are just wondering, like, why would he just cancel? One person did back out at the last minute, which is why the numbers were a little jumbled. Brian, you've explained to us before, but I would like for you to do it again for the people who are just joining us now. Talk to us and walk us through what they were required to have with them and what you would have with them while you're doing backcountry skiing. Show us the beacon, show us the pole and the shovel, if you don't mind, again.
Yeah, just like a skydiver would wear a parachute or a kayaker would wear a life jacket, hopefully. In the backcountry, we always go out with probe, beacon, and shovel. That's just basic equipment. That, and of course, knowledge on how to use all of it and when to use all of it. And so I've got my backpack on right now. So I'm going to ditch the pack. Let's say we were going into a search mode. I'm also wearing my beacon, and I'm at my buddy's house. So his beacon is inside right now transmitting, and mine is also transmitting. Now, if my buddy, or Lisa, if you were wearing your beacon and you were buried, I would now switch mine into, and everyone else that was not involved in the avalanche would now switch theirs to search mode so that we're no longer transmitting. Now we're only picking up the signals of beacons that are still transmitting and presumably buried. In this particular one from Black Diamond, if you can see, there's a little arrow on there. This is directional. It's going to show me where that victim is in a reasonable fashion. Now, once I get over that person, it can even kind of tell you how deep they are. So once I get there, if I can see a glove, if I can see a pole, if I can see a ski or something of that nature, then I'm going to immediately start digging. And so the other piece of our equipment, you could use your hands, but in an avalanche, the snow sets up like concrete. A lot of friction happens as it comes tumbling down the mountain. And so it sets up very hard, very stiff, very difficult to dig. And so that is why your other piece of equipment is a shovel. I just pull this out, put the handle into it. I can even extend this handle here. So now I can start effectively digging. Also important, if you're stuck out there, you could dig a snow cave for survival. Let's say my beacon says I'm right over the person, but I'm not quite sure. Or if I'm not getting a beacon signal at all, but I know somebody's buried, the next thing I have is this probe. It's all folded up right now, but I can flick it out like this, pull the cable, give it a quick wiggle, and now I believe this one's about 12 feet tall, and now I can start probing the snow, looking for that person. And, you know, sure, it's going to hurt when you strike them with the probe, but if I'm buried, poke away, find me. And that's what this probe is for. So unfortunately right now, they were able to locate 8 of those victims, and the sheriff did say they were able to use the beacons to locate that person. Why they don't have a signal from the 9th person, I'm not sure at this point. And if they never do get that beacon signal, it means a team of searchers is going to have to go out and just start probing, take a step forward, probe, take a step forward, and just keep probing until they find that victim. And again, at this point, it doesn't make a lot of sense when they're now in recovery mode to put those rescuers out there when we've had additional snow loading overnight. And Lisa, we talked earlier about the wind. Yeah. So there's the falling snow that adds up. You also factor in wind, which we had. Wind transports snow. So it might have only snowed 18 inches. You could end up with 3 feet of snow because the wind transported that additional 18 inches loading that slope in that area. So
it's because it's the wind-driven snow that moves a lot of that snow. And we were talking earlier, Brian, just about I like to think of things as in terms of a sheet cake, and you've got all these different layers in a sheet cake. You can have right now there's a lighter layer underneath, and if you've got a heavier layer, because of that wind-driven snow, like Brian said, you may only record 12 inches of snow that's fallen, but 18 more inches were added to it because of the gale force winds that were up to 55 miles per hour, and then that heavy snow is going to make the lighter layer is going to give way, right, Brian? Is that kind of how it works?
There's a number of factors that go into that, and that's why I'm a donor to the Sierra Avalanche Center for the work that they do. I don't get to spend every day out here in the backcountry. They do, and they come out and do routine observations. And so there's what they refer to as a persistent weak layer. It's a layer that they identified some time ago that could be a problem given some snow loading. So they knew that layer was there. They'll go out and analyze this slide and see if that's in fact a layer where it failed, or perhaps a different layer. But different storms at different temperatures, different styles of snowflakes all bond differently, and that creates those different layers of that cake, as you called it, Lisa. And if you get a weak layer in there, that becomes susceptible to a trigger that could be as much as a noise. It could be a piece of a cornice falling off, or it could be a skier stepping onto that slope. But any kind of a trigger or sometimes nothing at all, just the time.
Okay, and Brian, I have another question for you. Let's reverse it and pretend that you were there with them and you're one of the people, because we learned that someone looked up, saw the avalanche, yelled avalanche, and we learned that it's the size, it was a sheet the size of a football field. So you're looking up, you see that NFL-sized football field coming down at you. What's the first thing you do, and how many seconds do you think they had to react?
In avalanche terrain, I always ski with my pull straps off, and that is common practice for backcountry skiers. So first thing you do is ditch your ski poles and just start digging. Just start clawing to the top. If this slide sweeps you, you're just going to start digging and just try to get to the top as fast as you can. If you can kick your skis off, that's great too, because those can weigh you down. At that point, they're not going to do any good for you. You just want to try to stay at the top of the snow as it starts to settle. There are backpacks. I don't have one. They're very expensive, but they have big airbags in them. And so you can actually pull a ripcord and a huge airbag will inflate on your back, and that can tend to float you to the surface. And it's also bright orange, so it creates a big visual for rescuers to try to spot you by. So those that spend a lot of time in the backcountry, an airbag backpack is a good thing to have. I suspect my wife's going to make me buy one now.
We hope.
It's a good piece of
I'll pitch in. I'll pitch in, Brian.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. So if you had one of those, you would deploy it. But everything you can do to swim to the top, and then they tell you as the snow is starting to settle around you, you start going like this. Start trying to create an air pocket so that there's just not snow right in your face. And there's actually air in the snow. You can breathe in there for quite a while, according to statistics. But you have exposure to the cold, and eventually that carbon dioxide is gonna build up in that snowpack without any kind of ventilation, leading to asphyxiation. And so you just try to make an air pocket and keep your mouth clear of snow as best you can in that situation. And those are the things I've read. I hope I never have to use them, but it's always on my mind in that sort of terrain.
So you've never been in an avalanche or near one, or have you ever helped in a rescue of someone who was caught in an avalanche?
Thankfully, I've never been involved in a search or a rescue. I have been involved in minor little sloughs, we call them, which is a small little avalanche. So, I hate to use that in the same word, but it is an avalanche, but we call them sloughs. Nothing more than, say, maybe knee deep, but I was involved in one that swept me off my feet. I could do nothing about it. And by the time it was done, I was on my side in about hip deep snow. And the thing that got me the most about that was the snow swirling around. Imagine being in a dust storm and trying to breathe, and that's what it was. And I had a coughing attack for about 15 minutes, just trying to clear those ice crystals out of my lungs. Wow. That seems kind of trivial compared to what we're talking about now, but that was kind of an eye-opener for me, because how I had no control at that point. I was at the mercy of the snowfield.
Yeah, you're at the mercy of the snowfield and Mother Nature, and it's not trivial, because that actually gives us really good perspective, because that was a very small little incident, and we just think about, what they were facing, and a football field size, sheet of snow coming down at you. Do you deploy that thing as it's coming down, or this is once you've been buried? If you have that backpack.
As it's coming down. Yeah,
as it's coming down.
As soon as you saw it, you would deploy that. And normally the trigger is put away while you're climbing, and it's accessible. But once you get into an area where there's a risk, you make sure that handle's accessible. You don't want to snag it on something either and have it deploy on you by accident. At least I want to point out one other thing that just came to mind. Yesterday, as we were all sitting around talking about it, it's like 16 people. How would that happen? If we were skiing in a group, you would always send one person down at a time, and then they would peel off into a safe zone. And then you send the next person down, and they would peel off into a safe zone. Something, and in this situation, we're like, how did 16 people, we now know 15 people get caught in an avalanche? And, and it does appear that they were just traveling as a group, making their way out when this thing ripped from above and wiped out their crew.
Well, and I think, like you said, again, these are just ideas, but maybe they just thought that was the safest part of their exit, and just terrifying what they went through, and also terrifying for the rescue crews that went in there last night in just these horrible conditions. I'm also reminded you're at Alpine Meadows right now, which before this incident was probably the deadliest avalanche incident from the 80s here in California, right, Brian? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. They believe that was 7 people involved in that one, and there's a well-done documentary on that you can look up and learn more about that incident. I remember as a kid just hearing reports of that didn't really resonate with me, but I remember my parents being affected by that as skiers. And at least I can show you around here just where we are. This is Alpine Meadows right now, and you can see, everything around here is just buried, and that lodge is just up the hill from here.
Wow.
Yeah, it is A lot of snow here.
Yeah, and Buried's the name of that documentary. Brian Hickey, thank
Right.
you so much for all of your knowledge and explaining all those things to us, because we learned a lot in that press conference, but you definitely helped explain it a lot better. Thank you so much. Please stay safe up there. I'm glad you had that beacon. We're going to get you that backpack.